Paul stood in the middle of the showroom. His eyes moved slowly across the rows of polished cars, black, red, silver, and deep blue. Each one sat beneath the bright lights, like it had been placed there just for him. Then Paul stopped walking. There it was, one of the dream cars he had pictured for years. The kind of car he used to pause and stare at whenever one passed him on the road. The salesman walked over with a smile. "You want to take it out?" Paul looked at the car again, then back at the salesman. A grin slowly spread across his face. "Absolutely." A few minutes later, Paul lowered himself into the driver's seat. The leather felt smooth beneath his hands. His eyes drifted across the dashboard. Every button, every screen, every small detail. He pressed the start button. The engine came to life. Paul leaned back in his seat and quietly laughed to himself. This was real. The salesman handed him the key. "She's all yours." Paul eased the car out of the dealership. The afternoon sun reflected across the hood as entered the street. He pressed the accelerator. The car moved forward with a smooth burst of power. Paul's smile grew wider. He wasn't thinking about anybody watching him. He wasn't trying to impress the people in the cars beside him. He was simply enjoying a moment he had imagined for years. Every turn felt different. Every stoplight felt different. Even the road looked different from behind that steering wheel. 20 minutes later, Paul pulled back into the dealership. The salesman was waiting near the entrance. Paul stepped out the car, looked back at the car. The sunlight stretched across the roof. The salesman folded his arms. "So, what do you think?" Paul paused, then nodded. "I'm ready." Inside the showroom, the salesman turned a tablet toward him. "Everything is digital now. Just review each page, check the boxes, sign where it tells you. By the way, tons of places to sign, but you already know that." Paul sat down. He scrolled through the agreement carefully. Tap, check, sign your signature. Next page. Same thing. Tap, check, signature. There were no stacks of paper covering the desk, no pen shaking in his hand, no hesitation. Just Paul calmly moving from one screen to the next. When he reached the final page, he signed his name one last time. The salesman looked at the screen, then looked up at Paul. "Congratulations." He placed the key fob in Paul's hand. Paul stared at it for a second. Small, black, simple, nothing too impressive. But to him, it felt heavier than it looked. It carried years of patience, years of discipline, years of saying no when he wanted to say yes. Paul walked through the glass doors toward the car. The headlights flashed as he pressed the button. He stopped beside the driver's door, looked down at the key, then back at the car. "I really did it." Nobody tells you that reaching your first 100,000 changes more than a number on your screen. It changes the way everyday life feels. Paul drove home slowly, not because he was nervous, because he wanted the moment to last. When he finally pulled into the driveway, he shut off the engine. The car became silent. Paul stayed in the driver's seat. His left hand rested on the steering wheel. His eyes moved across the dashboard one more time, then through the windshield. A few years earlier, this moment only existed inside his imagination. Now one of his dream cars was sitting in his driveway. A quiet laugh escaped him. He lowered his head for a moment and smiled. The car was exciting, but the feeling behind it was even better. Paul had given himself permission to enjoy what he had built. A few weeks later, Paul walked into a restaurant for dinner. The place was warm and crowded. Glasses clinking, people laughing, music played softly in the background. The hostess led Paul to his table. He sat down, opened the menu, and read through it slowly. He wasn't searching for the cheapest meal. He wasn't calculating numbers in his head. He simply looked for what sounded good. He ordered an appetizer, something he usually wouldn't do. Then a meal he really wanted. Later, he ordered dessert. Usually we hold back from dessert, but this time was different. Paul leaned back in his chair and enjoyed every bite. He watched families talking around him. He smiled at a couple celebrating across the room. For once, his mind was completely present. When a waiter returned, he placed the bill near the edge of the table. "Take your time, sir, whenever you're ready." Paul glanced down at the amount, then reached for his card. No change in his breathing, no tension in his shoulders, no concern. He placed the card on the tray and continued enjoying the final moments of the evening. Outside, the air was cool. Paul walked toward his car with his hands in his pockets. The restaurant lights glowed behind him. That was when he realized something. The meal wasn't the best part. The dessert wasn't the best part, although it tasted great. Even the new car waiting for him wasn't the best part. The best part was the absence of fear. For years, money had followed Paul everywhere, into stores, restaurants, conversations, even before sleep at night. Now, for the first time, it felt like Paul was in control. Reaching $100,000 had not made him careless. It made him calmer. And people began to notice, not because Paul walked around announcing what was in his account. He never did that. Most people had no idea he had reached $100,000. They noticed something else. His consistency, his confidence, the way he carried himself. And one afternoon, Paul stopped at a coffee shop near work. He waited for his order. Someone called his name. "Paul?" He turned around. It was Marcus, a former co-worker he had not seen in over a year. They shook hands. Marcus looked him over and smiled. "Man, you look good." Paul laughed. "I appreciate that." "No, seriously," Marcus said. "You seem different. Something about you." Paul tilted his head. "Different? How?" Marcus thought for a moment. Calmer, more focused. They found a table near the window. For the next several minutes, they talked about work, family, and life. Then Marcus leaned forward. I've been meaning to tell you something. Paul listened. You remember when you used to talk about investing every month? Paul nodded. I thought you were doing too much. They both laughed. Marcus continued. But you never stopped. Even when the market dropped, even when people said it wasn't worth it, you kept doing it. Paul's expression softened. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. I finally opened my own investment account. Paul looked surprised. You did? Yeah, I started small, but I started. Marcus smiled. Watching you stay committed made me realize I was making excuses. Paul leaned back into his chair. His eyes drifted toward the window. Cars moved slowly along the street outside. People crossed the sidewalk carrying shopping bags and coffee cups. For a few seconds, Paul said nothing. He had spent years thinking his financial journey belonged only to him. He never realized anybody else was watching. Nobody at that table knew exactly how much money Paul had. Marcus did not respect him because of the $100,000 he had in his account. He respected the person Paul had become while building it. That stayed with Paul long after the conversation ended. His dedication had quietly encouraged someone else to begin. They meant more to him than any compliment about his car or his clothes, shoes, or knew anything. A few days later, Paul sat outside early Sunday morning. A warm cup of coffee rested between his hands. The neighborhood was quiet. A gentle breeze moved through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Paul unlocked his phone and opened his investment account. The balance appeared on the screen, $102,000. He stared at it, not with disbelief, not with wild excitement, with appreciation. Paul remembered the first deposit, the first $100. The months when progress felt invisible, the days when he wondered whether any of it would actually matter. Now the number sat in front of him, proof that small action had added up, compounding as real. He locked his phone and placed it beside the coffee. For years, $100,000 had been the destination. Now that he had reached it, Paul understood that it was never the finish line. It was evidence. Evidence that he could set a goal and remain committed. Evidence that he could build something slowly. Evidence that this is his future. Did not have to look like this in the past. Paul picked up the phone again. He opened the Notes app. At the top of the screen, he typed, next goal, $250,000. He looked at the words, then smiled. Not because he needed another car. Not because he wanted people to envy him, but because every new milestone created more freedom, more choices, more room to breathe. Paul took another sip of coffee. His eyes moved across the quiet neighborhood. Then he whispered to himself, next stop, $250K. Most people believe reaching $100,000 changes the things you own, and sometimes it does. But the biggest changes are harder to see. You move differently. You make different decisions. You stop carrying the same fear into every room. People begin noticing your discipline even when they know nothing about your account. And eventually, you realize the money was only part of the journey. The person you became while building it was the real reward. You see, Paul picked up his phone and walked back inside. His story was not over. In many ways, it had just begun. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in following Paul's journey to $250,000, be sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe. And let us know what financial milestones you're working toward.